breathing.
Okay, you need an ambulance?
I need everything. I need everything.
Springfield Police.
Yes, help me.
What's the problem?
I just shot this man in my house.
He's inside your house
Killed
right
my
now?
wife. He beat my wife.
Is he in there right now?
Yes, they're both.
Does he have a gun?
Her brains are everywhere.
Where's the man at?
He's laying on the floor.
Is he dead?
I don't know. He's making weird sounds.
Sir.
20.
Sir, slow down. I can't understand you. Slow down. Is the man still in your house?
Yes, he's laying there on the floor with a bullet in his head.
Did you shoot him?
Yes, I shot him. He was killing my wife. Please, my baby's crying. My baby's crying. I gotta go. I'll call you right back. Hello?
Winger?
Yes.
This is the police department. We've got officers en route. I need to know what's going on there.
My wife is dying on the floor.
Okay, is she still alive?
I think so.
Okay, we've got ambulance en route and we've got police officers en route. Where is the gun?
I left it on the table. It's on the table. It's on the table. Please,
Okay.
God, please come here.
We've got people on the way.
Okay.
Who is this man?
I don't know who he is.
He's still inside the house?
Yes, he's laying on the floor. Okay, I gotta hold my wife. I gotta get to my wife.
Okay, are you Mark Winger?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay, and your wife is Donnah?
Yes, she is.
When did the man come there?
I don't know, a few minutes ago. Wait, I gotta get to my wife. Please, just let me get to my wife. I won't hang up. Okay?
Okay, we've got officers en route.
Okay, my door's open.
Okay.
On August 29th, 1995, Mark Winger of Springfield, Illinois, made a frantic 911 call. He reported that his wife Donnah had been attacked by an intruder, whom Mark had then shot in the head. Donnah would die at the hospital, and investigators would find her attacker had a disturbing history. Welcome to Fact and Suspicion. I'm your host, Dan, here with my co-host, Ben.
Hello.
Now, let's talk about the brutal death of Donnah Winger.
Okay, so not one to judge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be perfectly honest. And I know there is no right way to respond in a crisis. We've said this many times, but that call seemed a little contrived.
I can see how you would argue that. I mean, if you see your wife, being beaten to death by someone, how are you going to react? What are you going to act like?
Look, it's a good question, but one, he never asked the 911 operator what he could do to help his wife. And he seemed like he wanted to get off the phone.
Oh, I'll give you that. Let's talk a bit about the whole story, about the whole case,
Okay.
and we'll come back to the call in a little bit.
I could be wrong, right?
Oh yeah, let's just talk about it because there are a lot of crazy facts in this one, right?
All right.
But this is not just a story about Donnah. This also has to do with her daughter Bailey,
Mm-hmm.
her husband Mark, and her assailant, a driver named Roger Harrington. So Mark and Donnah, by all accounts of everyone around them, their friends, their family, had a great marriage. They were very loving. Mark had a really good job. He worked as a nuclear engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know, it's strange to me to think about someone working as a nuclear engineer in Springfield.
Yeah.
Like Homer Simpson.
Yeah, Homer Simpson.
Yeah. But I was able to move past that, I guess. Now, Donnah, she was an operating room technician.
Okay.
And they had been trying for years to have a baby, and they weren't able to. They were having issues with it. So finally, they were able to adopt a baby girl. They named her Bailey, and they were
Which would be the daughter in the
Yeah.
911 call he was talking about.
That's her. Now Bailey's just a tiny baby. And how this story really starts, as far as Roger Harrington's involvement, is that Donnah took a trip to Florida to visit with her family and to take Bailey to meet her family.
Okay.
So Donnah, when she comes back, she flies into St. Louis, I believe it was. Now, that's a pretty long drive from St. Louis back to Springfield. So Donna actually gets a ride through a shuttle service, and I'm not sure if this was a van or just like a kind of a large car, what exactly the service was, but Roger Harrington was her driver.
I assume it was one of those white airport shuttles, isn't it?
Well, it could be, but there are different shuttle services that
Fair
drive
enough.
from one place to another. But at any rate, she's coming back in one of those, and it's just her and Baby Bailey and Roger in the vehicle. Roger's the driver. And Donna has said that that Roger said some very disturbing things to her and made her feel very uncomfortable. He talked about this is going to get weird, but he talked about how he had this voice inside his head that told him to kill people.
Oh.
He talked about some crazy sex parties he would have, and he actually invited Donna to one of them.
So he was a outright crazy person.
A crazy person. And Donna said he was also driving pretty crazy as well. He was being erratic, going over the speed limit.
When you're talking about the voices in your head, I mean, what's going to surprise you after that?
Exactly. Now, to be completely honest, I mean, I'd probably want him to go somewhat fast to get me on home, right?
Yeah,
but then again, like you've got your baby in the car with you, feeling unsafe. This is a terrible experience for Donna.
Yeah.
Right.
Did he make any like sexually suggestive comments?
Well, other than just inviting her to the sex parties.
I thought you just mentioned that he said he went to sex
No,
parties.
he invited her to come to one of his sex parties. So yeah, there was some. I don't know how explicit he got, but he definitely made the offer.
Thanks for the offer.
Right. So that's how this gets started.
It's nice to be thought about.
Mm-hmm. Now, when Donna gets back home, she called her mom immediately, told her all about this, and she told Mark about it. Now, Mark suggested that they should make a complaint. They want to complain to the shuttle company, BART Transportation.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
And so he has Donna go ahead and just like write down everything that Harrington said to her, so they'd have it, police report, something like that. Got it all on hand.
Did she do that?
Yeah. That we have all this written down. It very well documented her interaction with
Particularly
Harrington.
for harassment cases, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, and not to mention, like I said, she called her mother, spoke with her about it. We've got a lot of documentation of this happening. So as time goes on, in the week after this, they've reported this to the shuttle company, and Harrington ends up getting suspended from his job, which is
justifiably.
Justifiably, yeah, he should have been. And however, he keeps calling Donna and harassing her.
He had her personal number.
I'm thinking it was probably on record with the company or something, the shuttle company.
That's some stalker shit right there.
Yeah, so he's calling her at home, and not necessarily making threats, but he's calling. He is harassing her. He's calling partially about wanting his job back, and then because he blames them for reporting him, but also he seems to be a bit obsessed with Donna.
He blames them for telling perfect strangers that he goes to sex parties and has voices in his head.
I'm just saying what we've got going on.
Okay,
I'm not saying the man's not a crazy person. Now, like I said, it's a week later after the trip. And this is when we have Mark's 911 call. Okay. It's August 29th, 1995.
Uh-huh.
Mark makes the call we just heard. Mark says that he had been down in the basement on a treadmill and he heard something upstairs, or like a thud or whatnot. He comes upstairs and immediately he sees his baby Bailey lying on the bed by herself, which is it's strange to him, right? Because Donna wouldn't leave the baby just laying there. So he goes on to try to see what the thump was. And in the kitchen, he sees this man standing over Donna with a hammer, just like beating her in the head with a hammer. So Mark grabs his gun from the bedroom. And now I'm a little unclear on if he grabbed the gun when he first came upstairs and saw Bailey in the bedroom by herself, or if he went back to get the gun.
Okay.
I'm a bit unclear on that. Depending on the article, there are different details.
Right. That's usually the case.
Yeah, but Mark says he goes to protect Donna. He shoots this man in the head and he falls backward.
So I'm assuming this intruder was the shuttle driver?
Yes, but Mark didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
Right.
Mark had never seen him?
Yeah, Mark had never seen him. It was just, this was just, he didn't know who this was, right? And Mark makes the 911 call. Now, police get on the scene pretty quickly. And actually, we have detectives on the scene very early in this one. We have Detective Charlie Cox and Detective Doug Williamson.
Okay.
They both get there. Donnah and Roger are both still alive at the time. Now, Roger would die in an ambulance. He'd been shot in the head. No, really didn't think there was any hope for him. They didn't think there was any for Donnah either. And she ended up dying at the hospital later on. Now,
I'm assuming she wasn't conscious at all.
I hope not. I really hope not. Now, obviously, even if she was conscious, she couldn't speak.
You said she'd been bludgeoned brutally in the head, right?
With a hammer. I mean, there was, from what I understand about the scene, there was like brain matter, on the ground there. It was terrible. But when Detective Cox goes to ID the assailant, he takes the man's wallet and looks in it and says, his name's Roger Harrington. Do you know this guy? And, that's when, Mark's like, yes, we know who this is. Police actually quoted Winger saying, "Oh my God, this guy's been harassing us all week."
And they had a record of that, right?
They did. Well, I mean, they have she called her mom about it.
No, I'm saying, did the police have a record?
No, they had not reported it to police yet, but they had just reported it to the transportation company.
Well, they could probably get the information from them anyway.
Exactly. But like I said, they had all written down, everything. Now, Detective Cox actually knew Harrington.
Really?
Yeah, he'd had some dealings with him in the past.
I'm assuming those weren't polite dinner conversations.
No, actually, again, this is something that is different depending on the article you read. But the best I understand it, Cox, his wife either owned or ran this trailer park where Harrington lived with some roommates. And so she was sort of his landlady.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And there were a lot of complaints about, domestic issues, domestic disputes, not necessarily violence, but definitely arguments that could have turned violent.
Yeah.
Now some reports again say that Cox was like responding to some of these calls. So it's really weird depending on the article you read. Yeah. Right. So I'm just trying to confirm this, but the best I can tell, Cox's wife was the landlady in this situation.
Gotcha.
All right. Now, moving forward. So Cox knows this guy's troubled. He's got some issues. The pieces start to, come together, right? Yeah. It's looking pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, it doesn't look overly complicated.
No, it doesn't. And
stalker escalates to murder.
Exactly. And the case is actually closed pretty quickly. And Harrington actually had spent time in a mental facility as well. I don't want to hold that against anyone, obviously, but it adds into his.
It's not surprising.
Yeah,
I mean, so far
with everything we know, it just sort of adds in, makes it even worse. Yeah. The picture even worse. Now Detective Cox, who had the lead on this, he felt very strongly that open and shut, Harrington came in and murdered her. His partner, Detective Williamson, had some reservations about it. He felt like some things about the case didn't quite add up.
I guess there's a certain level of bias since the lead detective knew him.
Yeah, I think so. But also, I mean, I hate to put that on him because there's so much overwhelming evidence in this particular situation.
I'm not in any way saying that he was wrong. I don't know. Yeah,
but there were just a few things that didn't seem to add up. For one, there was no sign of forced entry, right? And now Donnah had been particularly paranoid ever since, this incident with Harrington.
Was Mark saying the door was just unlocked?
Well, Mark's really not saying. He didn't know if the door was locked or not. But it seems like the door should have been locked because she was so paranoid.
Right.
So either he would have had to force his way in or she would have had to let him in.
I mean, it would certainly make sense that she would have been paranoid.
Yeah. And I don't think she would have just let him in either, right?
Oh, God.
And also, there was a few strange things like Roger had brought in his cigarettes and his coffee cup and they were sitting on the kitchen table.
Wait. He brought in his cigarettes and a coffee cup to murder someone?
Yeah.
That sounds more like a visit than
It does, doesn't it? And I guess you could think that he came to maybe he wanted to come speak to them and then it escalated. But it's just really strange that he would, if you're feeling this way, you're going to carry in your coffee and your cigarettes, right?
I'm starting to suspect there might be a little more to this.
And maybe there is. Also, the hammer that she was murdered with, that came from the Winger's home.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't even bother to bring his own murder weapon.
No. And see, he actually had a knife and a crowbar in his car that he could have used.
And he just left a chance that he would happen to find a murder weapon between there and the door.
But there was a hammer sitting on the kitchen table. Now, Mark Winger...
Convenient.
Well, it is, but Mark Winger said that they had recently purchased a new shelf or rack of some sort, and Donnah was trying to remind him to hang it up, so she left the hammer out on the table.
I mean, it's plausible, but it's hard to get past the cigarettes, the coffee cup, and then leaving the murder weapons or possible murder weapons in your car.
Yeah, that's very true. And there's one thing, and this is what I really got hung up on, was they also found in his car, which was parked in plain sight outside. He didn't try to hide it or anything. They found a note in his car with the Winger's address on it, but also a time. It said 4:30 on it, 4:30. So it's like he had an appointment.
Yeah, without the time, I would think.
Yeah,
probably
maybe
just got it off of Google or something. Or when was this?
Oh, this was in 95, so
Probably
he probably didn't get
not
off Google. Probably got it from his records or something at work.
But with the time on it,
yeah, it's really strange. Right time, it's like he had an appointment to come by and see them.
Is there any evidence that he did have an appointment to come by and see them?
Well, now we do have one of Harriman's roommates that said he had received a call from someone earlier that day that said to come out and see him, and she thought that was Mark Winger. He was supposed to see him about sorting it all out and getting his job back.
Did the police check the call records?
No, I don't know about the call records. Again, this is 1995, so call records on landlines, I'm not sure how.
Surely even then they'd be able to tell if a call was received from the Winger residence, right?
I would think so. I'm not positive, though. And again, when you're looking at, I realize we're currently looking at just everything that doesn't add up, right? But when you look at this big picture and this guy's been stalking her, I mean, you're probably not going to look into it. You're probably just not. You're probably just going to just move on past it.
No, I mean, I agree that that's a reasonable response. Yeah. I just don't know if it's the best one.
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that the police work was great on this case. It obviously wasn't, because we have some things that they skipped over here.
To be fair, I'm guessing most cases when they seem open and shut, it's because they are.
No, I would think so, right? And in this one, I think it's fair that Detective Cox felt that way. At least. Yeah. I'm not going to say that it was right, but I think it was at least fair. I don't think this is one of those where, a cop just gets hung up on thinking what one suspect and
there was a lot of circumstantial evidence pointing to what was the driver's name?
Roger Harrington. Yeah. Now that said, Williamson though he looked into these discrepancies and he didn't think this was all on the up and up, right? So Mark goes on and is living his life. He's raising Bailey by himself. He ends up getting a nanny to take care of her. And the nanny's name is Rebecca. And she sort of falls in love with Bailey, right? I saw this interview with Rebecca later on saying that, Bailey, this child in 3 months' time has lost 2 mothers, And she just said, and this girl still, cheery, happy. She really felt for the kid, right? She fell in love with Bailey. And not long after that, it comes this bombshell to Donnah's family that Rebecca's pregnant, and it's Mark's.
Oh.
And they end up getting married.
That's fun.
Yeah. So, and, how many, I'm not sure if we've discussed one, but, looking into all the true crime cases we look at, how many times do you see, the man loses his wife and then he marries the nanny?
It just does seem to be kind of a trope.
It happens a lot.
A real life trope.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not saying that it's necessarily a correlation to something bad happening, but it's really weird how that happens so often.
I guess in a lot of ways it makes sense. I mean, you've just lost someone you care about or supposed to care about, and maybe you're lonely, and then there's another woman in the house suddenly.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not rocket science why it would happen. And
if Rebecca's to be believed, she really fell for Bailey. Right?
Though to be fair, I think in a lot of these cases the husband's the one who did it, so.
That does happen a lot. So
I think grief might be off the table there.
Yeah, but there are definitely cases where that didn't happen, and the same thing happens now. But Mark ends up getting $25,000 from the Crime Victims Compensation Act. And
what was that exactly?
It's just a a bill that, when someone's family is a victim of a crime, it provides some kind of financial compensation because he can get a lot of trouble that happens with it, right? He gets another $150,000 from life insurance. He ended up getting a promotion at work. And I'm not saying he got the promotion because he went through this tragedy, but like this guy, I mean, he came out as a hero, right? Because he killed his wife's murderer.
Right.
The community's looking at him. They feel bad for him because he lost his wife. He's raising this child on his own. It seems like he may be getting a promotion because of that. I can't say that was it.
I mean, it probably had something to do with it.
Right. And he goes on, and he's got all this going on, but he ends up filing a lawsuit against BART Transportation. That's the company that Harrington worked for, the shuttle company, right?
Okay.
And he claimed in his lawsuit that they were negligent in hiring this dangerous individual. Now, obviously, BART's lawyers, they're not just going to let him pay out on this, right? They've got to look into it. Yeah, the lawyers have to determine, were we at fault? Were we negligent? Right. They want to investigate this guy.
Let's be clear. They're not trying to figure out if they did something wrong. They're trying to figure out if they are legally liable.
Exactly.
Right? Let's be perfectly clear about that.
Yeah, and let's be clear about this. Regardless of what happened, this guy was dangerous and should not have been driving people around in a car.
I mean, I think we can all agree there.
I would agree with that. But they do want to determine. That doesn't necessarily
mean that they should have known that.
Right. They need to determine their liability on this. So they start investigating it, and they find all these discrepancies that the police have found. Right. So this lawsuit's getting drug out. It's not something that's settled, right? And it's something that the lawyers are actively looking into. And this is still sort of getting investigated, not by the police.
Was he under the impression that they would just roll over and pay out?
I think so.
Because it was a tragedy?
I think so, yeah. But they didn't, and their lawyers started investigating this, right? Right. But in 1999, something happens that changes everything with this case.
Okay.
All right. Now, as I said, Mark's got a pretty good life going on right now. Mm-hmm. He's getting his promotion at work. They end up getting a new house. He's married to Rebecca. They have 3 more kids.
Got like $150,000 in various compensations.
A lot of compensations. A lot of stuff's going on. Something else I did not mention that I probably should have. Something interesting about Mark Winger is he is the brother of the actress Deborah Winger.
I'm not familiar with her.
Well, she's been in a lot of films. She was in Urban Cowboy.
Mm-mm.
She was in the show The Ranch with Ashton Kutcher.
Nope.
On Netflix. She was in Terms of Endearment and An Officer and a Gentleman.
Seen An Officer and a Gentleman.
There you go. She's
fairly established then.
Yeah, very well established. Now, I feel like at this point in the mid to late 90s, she's not as big as she was obviously in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And then just recently she had that resurgence with the Ranch. But I didn't hear a lot from her in those years. I'm not saying that she wasn't doing anything. If any big Deborah Winger fans out there, I apologize. I just, what I know of Deborah Winger, right? I don't think that much was going on with her. But an interesting fact about Deborah Winger, though, is that before she broke into acting, she studied criminology.
Oh.
Yeah. It's weird how that kind of works into this, come full circle. But that's just sort of a weird little coincidence. But like I said, Mark's life is going pretty well.
Yeah, seems like it.
But 1999, everything just goes all to hell. Okay, there is a lady, and I'm going to let her remain nameless because I've read at least one article where she said she preferred not to be mentioned. Okay. Though you can go listen to basically any other podcast on this and hear her name if you want to. Okay.
So it is publicly available.
It's publicly available. I just don't want to mention it because the one, the big newspaper article was interviewed, didn't want to be mentioned by name. So whatever. She comes forward, and this woman used to be Donna's best friend, or one of her best friends. Right? She worked with Donnah, and she was good family friends with him. She had been having trouble with her marriage, and Mark was trying to help her and her husband work through the marriage.
Okay.
She comes forward and tells police. She gives them a lot of information, but the first little bit of information is that when Donnah died, she was having an affair with Mark Winger.
Oh, this was even before the nanny?
This was definitely before the nanny. Okay. This was before Donnah ever died.
Oh, okay.
When they adopted the child, they were having the affair.
That's a red flag.
Yeah, and she actually informed police of some of the things he said that were quite incriminating. He actually said to her at one point, "We could be together if Donnah just died."
Oh, if I didn't know where this was going beforehand, I think it's pretty clear now.
Yeah. Later on, she gave a statement to BART attorneys, saying that the day before Donnah's murder, Mark told her, "I've got to get that van driver in my house." And then on the day of the deaths, Mark actually called her at work and asked her, "Will you love me no matter what?"
Okay. Why would he do any of that? Why would he tell her these things? Did he want to get caught?
Well, I mean, for one, I think he was in love with her, right? And they continued their affair even after Donnah's death, where it seems to me that it was very evident to her that he had something to do with the death.
Yeah. And how long did it take her to come forward?
About 3.5 years. The death happened in 95, and she came forward in 99.
This is after they broke up?
Yeah, they had split up a while after that. But I'm not saying that she came forward just because they split up. They'd been broken up for a while. Actually, according to the unnamed lady, she had started to see a therapist about all the stuff that happened in her past. And I feel like she felt like, she couldn't come forward with it. And she felt like some guilt about everything and thought maybe she was culpable in some way. Mm-hmm. But the therapist talked her into, you need to come forward with this. You need to go to police. And she did. Now let me look back where I had mentioned that he asked her if she would love him no matter what. Mm-hmm. Now, after the murder, everyone was gathered at the Winger house. The rabbi came over to see them, and he took her aside privately and said, "I think the police believe me. I did it for us." And she said that he really kind of warned her not to tell police about this because, I feel like he kind of put it on her that she was culpable in some way, or she would be some sort of accessory, right?
Right. I mean, it seems like it would just been smarter to keep it to himself.
You would think so, but again, I feel like he was in love with this woman, and it was so he was wanting to be with her or whatnot. Right?
I mean, it seems to me that it is really rare that if you want to murder someone, that you get a setup that good, right?
Oh, I know, right? It's like it fell into his lap, right?
She had a real documented stalker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you get caught?
Well, and it kind of comes clear as that like this is why Mark would have had to write it all down, right?
Yeah.
And this is just, right there for the police when they get there.
Obviously, Mark, not too bright. I mean, do you imagine how many like wife murdering assholes are in prison right now? Like, if my wife only had a stalker. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it gets worse with the stuff he pulls. So let's not judge him yet. Let's wait till the end to judge him because there's a lot of this. Let's keep going with the story first, though. Now, apparently, Mark and the unnamed lady, they didn't actually break up until apparently Mark had started this relationship a bit with Rebecca, it seemed like. Now, I'm not positive of that.
So he cheated on the woman that he confessed to murder to?
Now, Rebecca had started being a nanny. She was a live-in nanny if I'm not mistaken, mm-hmm. Before he split up with this other woman. Now, I don't know if their relationship had started. Probably had. I don't know. I'm thinking this unnamed woman, maybe she got off easy not getting murdered.
Yeah.
Considering this. But, like I said, she's come forward. She's told this to police. She's talked to BART attorneys. And at this point, the police bring in a new crime scene analyst. He's pretty well known. His name is Tom Bevel, to investigate the case after the fact. And when he looks at it, it says that it's pretty clear to him this was a staged homicide. There was none of Donnah's blood on Harrington.
I didn't bother him to ask any of the forensic questions.
Yeah, there wasn't. Well, I didn't mention that earlier because I feel like it would have kind of given everything away if I mentioned that earlier. Than just sort of the weird little fact. But there's none of her blood on Harrington.
Seems like that'd be difficult to pull off while bludgeoning someone with a hammer, not getting any of their blood on you. Yeah.
And then, how Mark said that he shot him from the front. Mm-hmm. Harrington actually shot in the back of the head. The way he was laying, where the shell casings were, things like that just didn't line up, obviously, mm-hmm. with this story. The autopsy findings, stuff like that. They just didn't line up. There should have been a lot of cast-off blood on Harrington, mm-hmm. obviously, if he was hitting her with a hammer. However, there was some blood found on Mark's sleeve, a cast-off pattern, some of Donnah's blood. Now,
so the only cast-off patterns we have from a bludgeoning are on Mark.
Are on Mark, yes. Now, again, you have to expect some of her blood to be on Mark because, I mean, he was cradling his wife, when she obviously
but you don't expect it to be in that particular pattern, though.
No, you do not. You do not.
You expect it just to be soaked through.
Yeah.
That's a very particular blood spatter.
It is, yeah.
I've watched enough Dexter. I know this.
Yeah, and the staircase.
Fair enough, yeah.
Murder, or possible murder, right? There was a lot of cast stuff.
At this point, I guess we've read enough Henry Lee cases.
Yeah, like we're
practically experts.
Henry Lee, he talks a lot about the cast off. At any rate, though, so now at this point, with our new evidence, this really is open and shut, I think.
Yeah, just not in the same way we originally thought.
So in May of 2002, Mark was convicted of first-degree murder, given life without parole. They've established that obviously Mark called Harrington, invited him over, then he shot Harrington and bludgeoned his wife to death with a hammer. I cannot imagine how terrible that was for Donnah, right?
Yeah, God.
Because let's put ourselves in her shoes, right? Mm-hmm. She's been stalked and harassed by a crazy person. This has been going on for a week. She's insanely stressed about it. All of a sudden, this guy's coming over to her house for a meeting. I don't know if she knew about that or not.
Okay.
But either way, I'm sure she wouldn't have wanted him to just come over and talk about stuff the way Mark invited him over. He gets there, and then all of a sudden, Mark shoots this man and then is beating her loving husband, who she thought was her loving husband, is beating her to death with a hammer.
Before she can even figure out what the hell's going on with him killing a perfect stranger, she's getting beat with a hammer.
Yeah.
So, I think this ties in well. What do we think exactly happened?
Well, this is what I'm saying. The investigators put the case together that, as I said, he called.
So they are going with it.
He called him to invite him over to discuss what's going on. Say, maybe I can get your job back.
Okay. So he used his job as a lure.
Yeah. So they make this appointment for 4:30. Okay. Gives the address. Harrington comes over. That's why he brings in his cigarettes and his coffee, puts them down on the table.
He tends to stay.
He comes in to talk to Mark, right? And then he thinks, I'm going to drink my coffee, maybe smoke a cigarette because this is going to be a long meeting. I've got some apologizing to do, whatever. So Mark shoots the man in the head, and then we don't know that Donnah was in the room, but likely she wasn't even there in the room. She was somewhere else, right? Shoots her in the head. Donnah comes running, she hears a gunshot, at which point her husband beats her to death with a hammer.
Oh. Horrific. Terrible. I mean, like this guy, my God. And this is when he makes the, what we now know was a stage.
Yeah, the stage 911 call. And then hangs up in the middle of it. I think because Harrington wasn't dead, he actually told police that he shot Harrington in the head and then hit him with the hammer in the chest. What? So maybe he beat him with the hammer some, after he got off the phone.
But why in the chest?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe he thought it would look sort of like a defensive wound or something like that.
Gunshot to the head didn't do it. Why would a hammer to the chest?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't want to have to shoot him again. I mean, he's got to think about how this is going to look, right?
Right, yeah.
So I don't know. Look, just crazy stuff, right? But whatever. Let's keep going with this. But yeah, Mark Winger, incredible piece of shit. And this is going to sound terrible, what I'm about to say, but I mean, if you really ever loved your wife, how can you, beat her to death with a hammer?
Well, I don't think you could do that to anyone you cared about.
Exactly. And I'm putting myself in
if you cared about anyone at all, you probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to put myself in the mind of this psychopath, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. If you ever actually love this one, how do you do that to her, right? Obviously, you married her at some point. You loved her at some point. At any rate, he was convicted, first-degree murder, life without parole. End of story, right? It's over. He's in jail. It's not over. It is not over yet.
Okay. Interesting.
Because in 2006, Mark approaches another prisoner, and he tries to get that prisoner to arrange 2 murders for him on the outside.
I'm sure this went well.
Yeah. So one murder he wants this guy to arrange is that of his former girlfriend that testified against him, the one that's remaining nameless for our purposes.
Right.
And we can see why. I mean, he's mad at her for testifying. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? But in his head, he's angry at her.
Do we know how much he offered him for this?
Well, sort of. Yeah. So let's get to the second murder because that's how this ties in.
All right.
The brilliant plan here. The second murder he wanted him to commit was a man named Jeffrey Gelman. Now, Gelman was a friend of Winger's since childhood. And he was angry at Gelman because Gelman had refused to post $1 million bail for Mark.
Oh, what a terrible friend.
Yeah. But beyond being angry with him for that, he wanted this man to kidnap Gelman, ransom him,
and he'd use that.
Then kill Gelman, use the ransom money to pay for both murders.
So he was basically trying to put a murder and a kidnapping on layaway?
Yes. Yeah, he put it on credit.
And I'm sure that worked out very well for him.
Yeah, well, obviously.
With all those trustworthy people in prison.
Obviously, this guy goes straight to the guards.
Oh, yeah, like his first stop afterwards.
Because, this guy's crazy enough to try to get you to arrange a kidnapping to fund 2 murders. It's not going to. No one's going to do this, right? Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, not anyone that's experienced at any rate, right? Like you're maybe a meth head that really needs some cash.
You would want to do it.
Exactly,
it's
right?
Gonna do this.
Yeah. Like whoever does this is going to get caught. You don't want in the middle of this. Maybe I can get some extra funds for the commissary if I go turn this guy in.
It reminds me of that Nate Bargatze joke where he says his business card says, "Yeah, I could probably do that." How hard could it be?
I love him actually.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so the guy turns him right in, and then in 2007, Winger is convicted of solicitation of murder, and he had another 35 years added on to his sentence.
Man, he's a real genius. He had. Look, I don't mean any disrespect to Deborah. No, was it Deborah?
Deborah's his sister. Donnah was his wife.
Any disrespect to Donnah. This is obviously a tragedy. But can we just talk about how dumb this man is? He had effectively the perfect scenario put in his lap if you wanted to get away with murder.
Mm-hmm.
A legitimate, documented stalker with a history of mental health problems.
Yes.
Basically every red flag you could think of.
Mm-hmm.
The case was even closed, and he still managed to get caught.
Well, he made 2 major mistakes. 1, he told his girlfriend, and 2, he sued somebody.
Whom he later cheated on.
Yes, whom he later cheated on. 2, he sued somebody over the negligence causing death. In which case, like, I'm not trying to like belittle the cops in this situation, but like this the transportation company's lawyers are going to look into this a lot more than the cops did because they've got a lot of money on the line here, right? I do want to say though, Detective Williamson, as we said, he always had reservations about this, but Detective Cox, who felt that it was open and shut, I do want to say that he has been extremely apologetic after the truth came out. He has apologized profusely to Donna's family and to Roger Harriman's family.
That's great, though. I'm not gonna hold this guy accountable.
No. I just want to say that
given the circumstantial evidence at hand, it wasn't an unreasonable conclusion.
No, I just want to say that you know how a lot of times in these situations the cops are like, I still think he did it. Right?
Yeah, even when it's when there's overwhelming evidence.
Yeah, no, this guy actually has been very public in his admission that he was wrong. He should have looked into this more.
It's like the West Memphis 3 prosecutor.
Yeah, that's I
don't know if he's still alive, but
I don't remember.
For ages, he claimed that they were still guilty.
Well, West Memphis 3, that's another case
probably
for
cover
another
at
day.
some point.
Yeah, maybe that's that one. I'm going to be honest with you. I have a lot of trouble with that one because of all the terrible thing that happened to the kids. Because you guys know that I've had trouble with some of the ones we've covered, but that one gets so graphic as to what happened. I don't know if I can handle that one.
Maybe I'll do it then.
No, maybe so. But at any rate, this does wrap up the story of the murder of Donnah Winger, and you just think about the tragedy, like what the little girl went through, what Bailey went through. even Mark's other 3 kids with Rebecca. Like, Rebecca didn't know this about him. She was just his nanny that got kind of drug into this. She had no idea.
Yeah, of course.
So just
the other woman, I have less sympathy for.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that I feel like Mark maybe talked her into the fact that she was somehow guilty of this as well, and she couldn't come forward with it.
But she did know that she was at least guilty to a lesser degree, even if she believed she was guilty.
Yeah, surely, right?
Even if you think you might get in trouble, if you know that your boyfriend murdered someone, particularly his ex-wife, maybe you go to the cops.
I would think so. And I think what
just a quick PSA.
The red flag should have been, will this not happen to me? Right. Like, that's what you should be thinking in this kind of situation. Don't ever let a murderer tell any of you that you're sort of at fault for the murder they committed. No, because you could be next.
And likely would be if things had...
I honestly can't believe she made it through it.
Yeah.
Really, honestly.
I mean, he later tried to kill her. Right?
I know later on, but I can't believe, honestly, like I can't believe he didn't try to cover his tracks and have her killed.
I mean, I say that she was almost killed. I mean,
it was a harebrained scheme at best. Yeah,
that plan never left the prison.
Not until it went to the media, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that pretty much wraps up this case. We do want to say thank you for listening / watching Fact and Suspicion.
Whichever you do.
Yeah. We hope you've enjoyed this particular episode. If you like our content, we'd love it if you'd like, subscribe, leave a comment, depending on, the format you're listening to us in. But the most thing you could do for us is tell somebody about our
please.
Show. That's great for us.
The more eyes we get on the show, the better.
Definitely. We do have some plans for some sort of different content coming up.
So the absolute best thing you could do is send us $1 million.
Right.
But outside of that.
And like and subscribe and leave a positive comment and tell a bunch of people.
Let's not get greedy, Dan.
They could possibly take out a billboard for us. That
Times Square.
That's it. Okay, we're getting ridiculous now. But we do want to say we've got some ideas for some sort of different content coming up. We kind of shake things up and maybe be
within the same
vein.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. But we just got some new ideas.
We're not going to be doing unboxing videos next week.
No.
Or makeup.
Maybe not.
Unless the money was really good.
But again, thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon.
Certainly, probably no makeup videos.